Looks like a Gothic game, only called differently. The developers of Farathan have taken the popular game from Piranha Bytes as a reference. A third-person game with open world and a dark medieval fantasy RPG style. But first to the story. You start 15 years after the conquest of Elion by the ruler Elrys. You take on the role of the ruler's eldest son. The emperor disappeared after the great battle in the east. However, Farathan organized spreads rumors about the ruler's death, fueling an approaching civil war in the country. As chaos erupts in the country, you go on the run from an assassination attempt on you, the heir of the ruler's title. You suffer an accident and wake up on a beach. From here, the journey begins. Will you want to follow in your father's footsteps or lend your sword to another empire? The Imperial Army? The fearless Drengire hunters? Or the members of the Welt monastery? One thing is clear. You will be faced the hard world. The closeness to Gothic can hardly be overlooked in the game, but one thing in advance. The game is currently in a pre-alpha version, which is why the gameplay still needs a little tweaking here and there. That's why the Kickstarter campaign, which I've linked below, has been launched, to give the game a nice makeover. Especially the voiceover as well as the lip sync should be financed primarily with it. But if you look at the early version of the game, the world with the mountains in the background, the different animals roaming the forests, and of course orcs, lots of orcs, you immediately see a certain connection to the Gothic series. The developers say about themselves that they are big Gothic fans and therefore want to keep the game as close to the series as possible. This is also reflected in the game's environment. In the gameplay trailers you can always see the wooded landscape, which is very reminiscent of the forests in Gothic. But when you take a closer look, which is also present, for example in the combat system and the clothing, and partly also the faces resemble the characters of the Witcher series. And Two Worlds also seems to find its way in. If we look at the cities, we do see a certain similarity. But the mix of all the games also shows the game's differences. Because when you look closely, you have flashbacks to other games again and again. But Farathan develops its own charm by mixing the good things of other games together and refining them with the developer's own ideas. For example, the faces were made by hand and are not randomized, as is the case in some other games. The design of the villages and towns has also been created to the developer's own liking, which should distinguish the areas of the game once again, in addition to the buildings, also through the landscape. Basically, I think the game is very promising. That's exactly why I decided to support the game. The world looks unique, the game is in a very advanced state, and basically I have very strong Gothic vibes about the game. If you want to learn something more about Farathan, visit the Kickstarter campaign or check out Indie Database. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, you can like and subscribe. If you would like to see more of this kind of content, post it in the comments. See you at my next video.